You are listening to The Real Estate Ride. Make sure to subscribe and enjoy the show.
It's a beautiful business, and it gives you so much. It's so rewarding to walk into a house and see what it looked like before and to see what it looks like after. And you did that work. Granted, you might not be picking the hammer and nails up, but your vision comes to life.
Right.
It makes you feel like you have a purpose because you're giving houses to people and you're taking the community and improving the community too. One flip at a time, one rental at a time, and I think people really appreciate that in the community as well. It does
Definitely.
it's a wholesome experience. It's not just about making money. It's not just about it's a whole life change when you get into real estate. I do believe that too, if you're doing it for the right reasons. So
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. This is Annie Adkins and my husband, Jay. And this is The Real Estate Ride. We have a special guest here today, Chris Wallace, who is one of our coaching students and a fellow flipper and all of the real estate things.
yes, my gosh.
So this podcast, for those new listeners that are out there, is about the good, the bad, the ugly in real estate. So we talk about all of the things. Jay and I have been in real estate for over 20 years and have done lots of deals. And Chris has done lots of deals in the amount of time that he's been in real estate. So we're just going to get down to it.
Cool. Let's go. I'm excited.
Let's do this.
Yeah, we're going to try to extract the good, the bad, and the ugly.
There's all those are definitely the
Because as you may or may not know, everything is not peaches and cream like you see on HGTV or whoever else is
or A&E or any of those others.
producing a 30 to 60 minute show.
what they seem so wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is.
It is fantastic, but there's certain ways that we have to go about it and ways that you have to do in order to make sure that that's the case.
Yeah, and we want to share all of the information because that's how you learn and grow, right? And we want to help you all to avoid any mishaps or problems that we've ran into or mistakes that we have personally ran into. So hopefully we can deliver that in multiples to you today.
A lot of wisdom coming from us three today.
That's right.
There we go.
That's right.
So, Chris, why don't you tell us how you got started in real estate first, and then we will just kind of go from there.
Okay, so that's a loaded question. So a long time ago, I think it was about 7 years ago, I was actually in rehab in Belmont County, Ohio, and my best friend said, "Hey, why don't you come up to Newark and start working on my flips on the weekends?" He knew these really cool people, Jay and Annie, who got him involved in flipping. And I just started literally painting houses and just kind of learning the ropes from these guys as well. And then they had a coaching group going on. And I decided once I moved up here, I wanted to flip a house. I'll never forget, I was walking around the courthouse here at Newark, and I'm like, how in the hell does this thing even work? The numbers didn't make sense, the ARV, how you get your budget. I had no clue what I was doing. But these guys had a really cool coaching program. I signed up for it. And before I knew it, I had my first flipping contract. And short 6 months later, they hooked me in. I got a check for $41,000. Really, in 6 months, I was like, holy cow, this thing really works. And then I kind of just took to it. And then with these guys' help, I think I flipped, at least 27 homes over the course of the last 6 years.
That's amazing, man.
And you guys really helped me get started. I mean, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have a flipping business. I wouldn't be in business today or have had the horrors of business or the joys of business. If it wasn't for these guys, they've really helped me out tremendously. So I'm grateful for them.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, to say that you've done 27 flips in 6 years, that's just crazy, but it's true. And you have a really good knack for flipping stuff.
I appreciate that.
The design factor that you bring and just the overall aesthetic of all of your houses are really cool.
Top notch for sure.
Yeah, it's given me a new life, that's for sure. Made some mistakes along the way, obviously, as most people I think make mistakes in their journey, but
yeah, absolutely.
Learned a lot from them and these guys here. I'm back in the coaching group and I'm excited about that.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yes.
We're excited to have you back. So yeah, our coaching group, we're just going to touch base on that real quick. It's a year-long program, and then we have returnees as alumni that come back and help the new people and help just build on their own information and their own techniques and their and their own toolbox, so to speak, on flips. But
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly always comes with real estate and flipping in particular, it seems. Although, there's always good, bad, and ugly in every realm of real estate. So,
Yeah, they're well, I don't actually remember what I was gonna say now. It just right out.
happens at times.
But what I was gonna go back to for a second was we just breezed over that you just got out of rehab, right? So I just want to make that clear. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life.
Yeah,
If
that's a good point.
you make a decision to change your life and you take action on that, then good things are going to come from that. So I know I went to rehab too. So one big decision was to decide to go,
Right.
right? And then to take action steps then to keep that momentum going, to get one more day of sobriety in, right? We both have a similar past, and so I think it's important to to reflect on that for a moment and know that you may be in a difficult spot. It may not be rehab, it may be divorce or job loss or something like that. And you do have the ability to start over and do something new and create a new you and create a new life. And that's what you did, Chris.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll touch on that too. Thanks for saying that. My story's not all perfect the last 6 years because, this real estate ride really did take me on a ride. I moved to Florida and I just I stopped what was most important to me, which was sobriety at the time. I almost lost my business, literally. Had foreclosures, literally on the brink of disaster. But I knew what real estate could give me if I did the right thing, if I stayed sober, if I stayed positive, and it's back in full swing again, more than I had even when I was actively back out, almost destroying my business. So I knew there was that real estate could give me that life again, sobriety could give me that life again. And these guys have been willing to work with me through all that shit. And here I am now. We're back working on flips together. And it's an amazing thing. I appreciate you for mentioning that, Jay, because, I think the most important thing we can all think is we have our sobriety and we have ourselves. We can have our business. We can have anything we want. And real estate, I can rest assure you, it was never in my forefront, but it has given me the new life that I have again today. I'm grateful for that. So thanks for bringing it up, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point too. When everybody's down and out, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're an addict or you're an alcoholic or you're in rehab or out of rehab. Everybody's got a low point, right? No matter what they're doing or what's happening. So and it doesn't have to be perfect action. Like, you didn't come out of rehab like, yes, this is exactly what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what I need to happen.
Right.
And it's just, you had the faith in the idea of having a real estate business. And then you put your faith in us as your coaches and the community that you have to push yourself and to make sure that you stay focused and have things happen for you. So it's not necessarily perfect action that allows anything to happen. It's very much imperfect action, as long as you're taking the action
Right.
to put 2 steps in front of one another.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, if I listen to these guys or listen to people that are around real estate, I wouldn't have been in the situation I was in with almost losing 2 homes and all this crazy stuff that was going on in my life. So, one thing I could say to new people out there that might think about doing real estate or thinking about what, taking this journey is, hey, jump in. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to have to sell a house for a loss and not make a profit or break even. I mean, that's just what, that's the worst thing that can happen.
True.
That real estate, one thing I know, everything sells, and I've never not been able to get out of a deal that I've had, even though I've screwed shit up pretty bad, I've always been able to find a way out, of a deal. And these guys have been super helpful with that and teaching different strategies. Hell, the last deal we just did, Jay was the listing agent on, we learned so much from, about a foreclosure, because I was in an active foreclosure. We were able to close the deal and move on, and I can still have another flip going on. So things in real estate, but you can always pick yourself back up and keep moving the ball forward.
And imperfect action. And then, like you said, a deal is not always a perfect deal from start to finish either. In fact, most deals are not the perfect deal from start to finish. Yeah. You're going to run into roadblocks. You're going to run into issues that you might have to sell for a loss. Like you said, Jay and I sold houses for losses. It's not obviously why you get into real estate, but sometimes it happens. And sometimes you just have to roll with the punches. And it's getting back up on your feet and making sure that you continue to do it rather than just wallowing in the chaos that it may or may not create.
And not make the same mistakes. Like me, I always go, hey, overpay. We were just talking before this that I sometimes you can't overpay for a house. I've done that before. And I just had a house in contract that I was supposed to be closing on. I ended up having to pay more for the house. And the long story short is I had a non-refundable deposit. I'd rather lose that. I've learned through real estate, the $2,500 loss now isn't going to add up to 20 or 30,000 later if that, if other things would go wrong. So, learning to back away and taking, good action of buying the right houses. And these guys can help you buy the right houses, put the right budget together. So it's not, me, I'm always wanting to go do the work myself. I've learned not to do the work myself and to hire contractors so I can save more money if I'm hiring a contractor versus me working hours on end, thinking I'm saving money and it's costing me money in the long run.
Yeah.
Which is a big problem that I've had in the past. Just learning to let go and trust the process and trust the experts in real estate because, they know what's up. Obviously I've learned and I know what's up too, but it's better to let professionals handle certain situations versus me thinking I know it all.
Yeah. So Chris, you mentioned, foreclosure on this last one, which, that's obviously scary to anybody thinking about getting into real estate investing. So I think it would be good just to touch for a moment on what happened on that deal. Like why did you not make any money on that deal?
Well, it's pretty simple. I wasn't on my A game. I had gone out to lunch, I like to say, for a while and just kind of let the ball drop. I hired people that I thought that I became friends with, which is a big problem. You can't hire people you become friends with, and hiring shitty workers that just don't care about, my vision or what I want for a flip to be. I like to say, pardon my language, I'm kick ass at flips when I'm doing what I need to do. I'm good at them.
Yes.
This flip just went haywire, took way too long, ran over budget a little bit, and that's in part from people I hired. And then, interest payments started stacking up, and I just was like, what am I going to do? So at the very end, I had called in Jay, and one of my investors had called Jay. We know him mutually and said, hey, well, can you sell this property for us? And he kind of helped pick the pieces up. But I think Jay might even be able to lament this too, is, he worked with some of the people that I had hired and it just they weren't professional. They weren't doing things right. It's cutting corners that looked like crap. And luckily we sold the thing for, almost pretty much break even.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, to go a little bit deeper on that, I went and saw the house when it was quote unquote finished. Right. And I actually, said this has about, 7 to 10 days worth of punch out to do to make it really great. And so if you have a flip that is questionable versus a flip that is great, like that's the difference of a $20,000 or $25,000 purchase price.
No doubt in that.
Right.
No doubt. That's
So
true.
I'm confident because the way that you did the plan and the overall layout and the floor plan and the design that you did was amazing, but the finished product was
Lacking.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah, lacking. And so that's why the property had to be sold for less because, you get the feedback from the buyers when they come in and when everybody says,
Everything.
Absolutely.
oh man, it looks so great in the pictures. But then when I saw it in person, there's a lot of work that needs still done or redone. And so, that's what causes you to lower your price. And then there goes your profit.
And if I'm being completely honest, one of the things that I've lacked in some flips that I've done is, at the end of my pictures always look, pristine. My houses usually look pristine.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes you run and you look at, the people are looking when they're higher price points, especially like when I sold in Florida, they're looking for perfection when it comes to tile. They're not looking for just okay.
Yeah.
And that was a big change I had from Newark to here. Cause in, Newark, it's different.
Yeah, it's a different market for sure. Yeah.
It's just different. So
Yeah.
I've had to learn that I need to be, make sure everything's perfect because you lose, money's lost when it's not perfect for when people come through, no matter what.
Yeah.
So
you've done 25 plus flips. So let's talk about the positive for a second, right? So out of 25 flips, like I know that you didn't make any money on that one, but
broker lost even on 4 of them total, 5, including that one, 5 out of 20 some flips.
Okay.
If I would have had, and one thing I can say to anybody getting involved in real estate is early on, just because you have a lot of money coming in doesn't mean you're actually you have to put that money to work for you. I didn't do that. So I'm still, rebuilding myself. But if I would have put all the money to work that I made on the last 20 some deals, I would have $1 million. I mean, that's no joke. I would have $1 million if I would have done the work that I needed to do besides just doing the flips. There comes this flip side of this. You have to invest your money. You have to be strategic how you spend your money. You have to do all these other little parts to make the whole. Now, don't get me wrong. I've traveled the world. I've been to India, to France, to Rome. I've lived in Florida. I've traveled and not have to worry about money at all. It's been an amazing thing. Real estate's given me everything that I could ever imagine. I mean, literally, I mean that anything I could ever imagine, I can attribute it to my real estate business. Now, granted, my real estate business could be tenfold better, and that's why I'm back in the group to try to get my other ducks in a row. Because these guys just don't help you with flipping and finding money. They help you how do you save money, how do you invest your money, how do you plan your life out, pretty much.
Yeah,
in a sense. Yeah.
So I think a couple of the key points to take away from Chris on this deal that he broke even, and probably the other ones where you didn't make money on, is be very careful who you hire, screen them very well.
Yeah.
Make sure that you go take a few hours, go look at some of their projects if you can. We implement where you're going to hire anyone new, they have to give 3 referrals for jobs they've done in the last year, what they did at that job, how much the job was, and the name and phone number of the person they did the work for.
Well, I think one of the main reasons is because, and we've touched on this in a couple of different ways, is pictures lie, right? Pictures can lie. Pictures can lie on a finished product for a home buyer. Pictures can lie from a contractor. Pictures can lie from a home seller. Jay and I experienced something similar with pictures lying on a property that we bought out of town, and we never went to look at the property. We just took the word for the seller, and the pictures were like over 6 months old. And
I think they were from 1985.
The house looked nothing like the pictures did. That was early on in our real estate career. We still own that house. We've made a ton of money off of that house in the process, but pictures lie. So whether you are selling or buying or hiring a contractor, do not use just pictures for your sole source of information.
No, and definitely send someone to look at the house and get pictures. And we definitely recommend that you get a home inspection report
for a house. But yeah, you're hiring a contractor, make sure that you actually speak to people that they worked for, not just look at a portfolio that they provide you. Do your due diligence. Yeah.
It's like you have no clue what the heck you're even doing. So it's like,
Yeah, which is one reason that Jay and I started our construction company years ago, because we were having issues finding solid contractors. And now when we hire a contractor, not only do we ask for references and ask for their portfolio, but we also have them do a working interview. So they show up at a property and we walk them through and say, this is our plan. Now tell me how you would do the drywall, how you would do the install of this kitchen, how you would tile this or that, and make them show us, not necessarily show us, but at least
tell us
through the step-by-step process of how they would finish that particular project.
Yeah, because we've seen people hang drywall with roofing nails, staples.
With drywall springs.
I've had it where they just put liquid nail behind the drywall too. So, hey, it's a hole.
There's
Yeah.
of them out there. Believe me.
Yeah, so for a little bit of extra time, it'll save you thousands of dollars and a whole lot of time if you properly screen your contractors. So that is a very key element in being successful in your real estate endeavors, whether you're doing rentals or flips. And Chris, you've even used our strategy to make money while you work on your flip as well, because you've done some of the work yourself. And how much do you think you've paid yourself to work on your houses?
Well, like for example, like painting, $3,000 to $4,000, sometimes $5,000 a flip to pay. That makes your payments. If you're doing the work,
Yeah.
My problem is I try to do too much, and then because I'm trying to save money, right? But in the end, I think I was going to touch on this. If you spend more money at the front side of the flip on with a contractor, the right people to do the work, then you're able to push numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I love to push numbers. I love to push comps because hate when a realtor comes and tells me, well, you can't get that for this because of this. Honey, I know you can. Like, I've done it before. Like, I push numbers. People will pay a premium for something if it's done right and done well. A good example of that was I had a flip in Newark here. We listed it at 249. We knew we were pushing the numbers on it. I didn't want to listen to the expert on this, but I said, let's do 249. We didn't get it. We got a really low offer. They ended up backing out of the deal. And then we lowered the price by 15K, and I ended up getting the 250 that I knew we could get originally just by listening to an expert, having the flip done right. It was done beautifully. And we had 5 or 6 offers come in, and that wasn't during COVID either. It was just right after COVID. I know the market kind of exploded during COVID, but
Yeah.
that just tells you, this thing works. If,
Right.
they say, and in the rooms that this thing works if you work it, well, flipping works if you work it too the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I want to touch on something else, Chris, that I think is important for everyone to know. How much, so you've done this for 6, almost 7 years and over 25 houses. And how much have you spent on marketing to find properties?
Nothing. I've not spent a dime.
$0, people.
I spent zero of my own,
That's what I was just.
Zero.
How much of your own money have you spent?
hardly any. I've done, maybe 10 or 15,000 I've put in over the course of the time, but I haven't put any money in. I mean, when this thing first started, it was easy. You get 100% financing. There wasn't all these, or some little caveats to lending lending laws, but overall, there's still 100% financing deals out there. You team up with Jay and Annie, they'll get you their contacts to their lenders, but also, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get a flip.
Right.
I had a lady ask me in the car yesterday, hey, how much can I put in? I said, well, really nothing. There's finance available for coaching. There's all these different avenues. You don't have to put any of your own money in. How beautiful is that? And then you're making other people money. They're getting happy and they're getting decent returns. When the ball's working and everything's well greased, it's really, it's a really good thing. But I've really haven't put too much money of my own money. Now,
No, I didn't think that you had. That's why I wanted to ask.
a lot of time, a lot of aggravation,
Right.
and all that stuff, but and a lot of lessons learned. But sometimes lessons are more expensive than your own dollars at times.
Right, right.
Anyway,
So
lesson
repeat again, $0 on marketing.
zero.
$0
Nothing.
on
I make
marketing.
phone calls. I call realtors. You make contacts and you go to things and you call different agents. They'll call you up and say, hey, we know you're a flipper in town. We found this really cool deal. Or there's wholesalers. Or I ran into a guy who's telling me just say, hey, I'm selling my house today, or just go knocking on the door of a house you kind of like that's like run down. People are willing to take, it's crazy. People will take money for their houses. They want to get the hell away from them.
Yeah.
And we like to buy messes like that's,
Yes.
anything. They'll, usually.
Yeah.
So you've bought mostly from the MLS.
Mostly from the
Right.
MLS. Actually, I would say 90% of my deals have come from just the MLS, and people wonder how the heck do you do that? Well, we're able to make stronger offers. They aren't always cash offers, but hard money loans are way less stringent. There's no really regulation behind them. It just takes time to get them done.
Right.
A lot of times you don't need an appraisal. You can do a BPO, which is a lot cheaper and quicker, and sellers like that because there's no weird contingencies with anything.
That's BPO is a broker price opinion, and that's provided by an agent. It's kind of like a mini appraisal.
It saves you a lot of money and time.
Yes.
If they'll accept them.
And some companies will even do automated ones.
Drive by.
Some of the
AI.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
yeah.
Everything.
Things are always changing and developing, but you made a good point too. Like even buying them, you've done over 25 and you haven't put more than $15,000 of your own money into acquiring these properties, which is phenomenal. That's less than $1,000 per property that's coming out of your pocket to purchase. And how did you figure all that out?
Well, Jay and Annie helped a lot with that, obviously, right?
That was loaded.
But
Loaded question.
you learn things on your own. Like I left, so this is just straight up. I left the coaching group for some time. I went on my own,
Yep.
which is fine. It was
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
But here's the problem I have. If like I said before earlier in the podcast, if I would have stayed either in contact and still had the relationship that I originally had, I would have a war chest of cash saved. Instead, I went out, I lived life, I lived great. I went places, I did things, but then at the end of the day, what do I have to show for these 27 flips? I have a lot to show, obviously experience, and I'm still have contacts, I'm still doing flips, still living life, still able to get by, but now I want to go to the next level. And how do I do that? I come back and find people that I want to surround myself with, like AJ and Annie, my other friends, people that are involved in making money in real estate. Once you surround yourself with the right people, the people that make money and people know what they're doing, then I can start to do that for myself again, looking to acquire rentals this year, things I never thought were possible, but with different avenues of lending. I mean, Janie put me in a contact with a good guy named Paul,
Yep.
who's been able to help me learn about the DSCR loans, which are for rentals. I mean, all these different avenues I never thought were possible to make money. These guys have shown me how to do that. And so it's not hard. That's the thing. I was involved in a way different field of work, politics, never could pick up a hammer, never knew nothing about anything. And then I just, you slowly pick this stuff up and it's not hard. Like, you can take 5 minutes a day, literally look for a house, and then maybe a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
You're working with coaches. They can help you find out ways to, house to buy. How do you do this? How do you do that? And before you know it, like I said, I got hook, lined, and sinkered in my first flip. These guys didn't. I found the flip. They didn't find it. I brought it to them and they're like, hell, this is a great deal. It's like, you can find deals yourself and these guys will tell you if it's okay or not. And then, listen, that's the other key. You got to listen to these things, because if you don't, you make mistakes. I've overpurchased. I've just skeeted by on a house, or sometimes your house will get overcomped, and that's not a problem that anybody else, it's just an appraisal overcomped because they're wanting to push numbers too, and they do it and it screws you in the end.
Right.
There's all these different facets, but one thing I can say is you make money doing this. You can make money. You do make money. I'm a testament to that. It's very...
Yep.
I gotta watch. I'm shaking the camera, so I saw it and getting all.
No,
Anyway, but you make money at this business. It's a great business. It's a beautiful business, and it gives you so much. It's so rewarding to walk into a house and see what it looked like before and to see what it looks like after. And you did that work. Granted, you might not be picking the hammer and nails up, but your vision comes to life.
Right.
It makes you feel like you have a purpose because you're giving houses to people and you're taking the community and improving the community too. One flip at a time, one rental at a time, and I think people really appreciate that in the community as well. It does
Definitely.
it's a wholesome experience. It's not just about making money. It's not just about how it's a whole life change when you get into real estate. I do believe that too, if you're doing it for the right reasons. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and that's why we have a life coaching element to our coaching group as well, because as you heard Chris mention and myself, that we had challenging pasts and we were unable to perform work duties during that time because we were wrapped up in drugs and or alcohol, fill in the blank for whatever, but that was both of our cases at one time in our life. And so it's important that your personal life is also rehabbed, right? So not only do you want to be working on your real estate business, but at the same time working on your personal business, working on your self relationship, your relationship with others, your health, wellness, all of those things. If you're elevating those things for yourself, your life is improving, your business is improving. And the flip side of that is if you are using or, drinking heavily or doing things that affect you as an individual and or your personal relationships, it absolutely has a major effect on your business as well.
And I'd like to chime in and say, hey, you can't, I thought before I can run my business and everything else is going to fall into place, or I'm going to run my personal life and everything is going to fall into place. If you both have to happen for you to be able to be successful. Personal life, obviously first, relationship with yourself, but then the business has got to come in, because everybody says you can't buy happiness. Well, money helps you be a little bit happier, helps you get by. You have to have money to survive. When you're working on yourself and you're working on your business at the same time, I find it's when I'm most successful, when I'm in tune with people, I'm making phone calls, I'm talking to these guys on a weekly basis. Sometimes I go and, and don't talk for a week. Don't chat. But then when we reconnect a week later and we talk about what we have going on, we go right back into business. It's a whole good experience to be working on both sides at the same time. And these guys can help you do that. That's for sure.
I had a question for you, Chris.
Uh-oh.
What's the most you ever made on a flip?
Oh.
Because I really don't know.
Okay, so the most I made between it was a partner and I, we made it was $86,000.
Wow.
And it was on a small house in Columbus.
Okay.
That was the most. I think it was right around 80 grand it was made, and then we split the profits from that.
Nice.
But personally, just doing them myself was the first flip I ever did, which was on Granville Street here in Newark, and I got a check for $41,000, and that was just
Yeah.
myself. No part, none of that, all that. But then as you develop your real estate business, you start bringing other people in, and you split things different ways and how that runs. But I think the most gross was around 86,000.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Really amazing.
yeah.
So
The house was bought on the MLS as well. It wasn't found anywhere. I
Okay.
call up a deal, was and just found, and and there were some mistakes made along the way there too that probably could have yielded more money, but overall, it was a pretty decent flip.
let's discuss value add for a second, right? Because that's how people wonder, like, how can you make $80,000 on a house? I'm certain that you changed the house somehow. So what did you
This
do?
house is not a good example for that.
Okay.
Because the layout lived the same. So I'm the king. I like to say this, or the prince, however you want to look at it. Putting in half baths. I could fit a half bath in a house anywhere. I could fit a bathroom in usually anywhere in a house. That's usually where we pick up, money is by adding bathrooms, adding bedrooms.
Yeah.
This house,
Yeah.
we didn't really have to change too much. It was just in a really sweet spot. The location was really good.
Okay.
The seller was crazy, but somehow the real estate we were using it worked out. We were able to get the house at a good deal.
Nice.
Okay.
But there's a house that I can talk about where I added value add, and that's it was on Idaho Avenue here. There was a full basement, and I added 950 square feet of living space, a bathroom, and a bedroom down there. And originally it was just a 3-1 1,100 square feet. Well, then it became a 4-2 1,900 square feet. So it went from 180 comp to 190 comp to a 250 to 260. We sold it, ended up selling for 248,
Nice.
245.
Yeah.
So that was the time where we got it for 101
Yeah.
and put in 50,000, and then sold it for 250. Well, 250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's a great point to make. Like, when you're looking at your potential flips, where can you add value to really increase the value, the after repair, the ARV, like Chris mentioned at the beginning, is the after repair value. So that's what it's going to be worth after it's fixed. And if you can take a house from 1 bath to 2, depending on your market, you could be adding $30,000 to $100,000 in value just by adding another bathroom, plus making it much more sellable when you go to sell it on the market.
And
So-
half baths can be added in closets and under staircases and all kinds of crazy places. So you have to really kind of walk into a property thinking, what can I do to add value to this house? Is that even a potential? And you don't have to have a lot of money out of pocket, like we've said, and you don't even have to have a lot of time. It just depends on the person and how you want to get started and what your ultimate goals are. And that's what we really take time to find out with our coaching students and with everybody that we work with. What's your plan? Why are you doing this?
Nice.
And what
Yeah.
you want to achieve. And then you can tailor a house or any investment to fit that design for your life and design your life the way you design your houses, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
I like that.
And sometimes, we walk through, like we're working on a house currently, we walk through 2, 3, 4 times. The plan changes, but ultimately the goal's still there. The vision's still there, but things change and things happen, and you learn and you adapt and,
Yeah, for
flip, so
sure.
you can become adaptable with that. Versus before, when I first started, if I wanted something to be a certain way, I don't care how much it's going to cost. I'm going to move the damn wall. But now I realize, well, that's really not that smart. We can do things, like in this house I'm working on currently, there's a support beam in the middle. I don't like it there. I hate it, actually. It's very terrible. But we're just leaving it there. It saves money, and it's what it is. And it's not going to change the value of the house. It might change it aesthetically in my mind when I walk and I want to see a big open space, but it's not going to change what I can sell the house for. And I've learned that I've got to just make the decision based on numbers. This isn't don't make decisions based on what I want or how I would live there. It's got
Bingo. Don't sign a house the way that you would be signing a house for you personally to live there. That's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake that lots of people make. And I started thinking the same thing as we were doing houses. Like, no, I wouldn't want that there. And I'm like, but wait, I'm not living there, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It ultimately doesn't matter. The end goal is to get maximum profit out of your house, provide somebody a new home to live in, to help them better their lives, and then therefore the real estate side of things better yours.
Yeah. And I think it's important to state that you can't do everything that you want to do to a house. So you have to pick and choose like what fits in the rehab budget that gives you the biggest quote unquote bang for your buck.
Like I just saved just real quick in the house we're doing. I want to take the shower out. I wanted a glass door. I want to do all these crazy tile it, but we ended up, it's a nice shower stall. We could refinish it and it'll look perfectly look just like brand new. Saves me about overall in the grand scheme, probably $3,000 not taking that shower out just by leaving it.
Yeah.
Little things, that help.
Yeah, and that was decided like right after phase 1 started because there was supposed to be one wall that was load bearing, ended up being 2. And so now your rehab cost has changed right in the first phase. And now you have to decide, okay, what am I going to eliminate? What am I going to change to where I'm not coming out of pocket even more money to do this the way I wanted? What modifications can I make to still make an incredible product for the end buyer, but also stay within the budget that you've committed to stay in?
If you could demo a house before you buy it, then that'd be the key thing. But this is where home inspections and bring contractors in the beginning, because you learn as soon as now we're in a good spot. Like I don't think there's going to be any more surprises.
Yeah.
We know what's up. We know where everything's going to go now. Just getting to the finish line. The hardest part of the project's been done.
Yep.
And that's the demo. I've learned that's where you open up your can of worms per se, and you know exactly what's going on with everything. And sometimes you open things up, you're like, oh my God, there's a brick wall there. I could leave you didn't have brick. You use 5 different things with it.
So as you open up stuff, then you can tweak your design plan if you need to, or like you said, find an open or wall that can be exposed, or a beam that can be wrapped, or whatever the case may be. So
or hardwood floors underneath carpet. You're like, oh my God, there's
surprise.
It's like these are like the things you learn when you get excited over hardwood floors.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah. Or you get excited not seeing knob and tube everywhere. Then you see knob and tube, you're like, oh shit, what's going on? Jay gets those phone calls. They're like, oh shit calls.
Yeah.
All and good. But that's anyway, we try to limit those these days.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's always an adventure.
So Chris, what would you tell your 7-year past self now? Like what, you're talking to your previous self. What
4 years old for that.
What advice would you give yourself in regards to your real estate business specifically?
First I would tell myself to continue my path of sobriety, because that's ultimately what gave me this seat at the real estate table with these guys. That's first. But second, just don't run or slow down. You'll run right past it, because when I take the time, I slow down, I listen, I make phone calls, and it's always about money. That's the problem. When I first started this thing, I was about chasing the dollar. And when I'm not chasing the dollar and I'm actually sitting back and just chasing whatever that might be, for me today, it's internal peace and it's just joy. And when I start thinking about that more than the money, then I'm able to sit back and the money starts. It's just weird how the universe works, but then things start falling into place when I start listening to experts, when I take the time to listen to my gut. That's been a big problem. I always want to go against the grain, and I don't have to be out there, hey, I'm Mr. Flipper, look at me. That's a thing that can come later. But if I focus on myself and just take some time and slow down, and listen to people, that's been the biggest thing, is just listening to the people that make the differences in this game. There's lenders, there's these coaches, it's a whole facet. It's not just you work with one community either. You're bringing multiple different facets to into your life. So you just got to take the time. That's the biggest thing I could tell myself, is take the time, stay sober, stay happy. And another thing is, I'm not going to get I had a flip sit on the market for 30 days. And so long as I ever had I shouldn't say that, but when I first started, 30 days, like, oh my God, 30 days on the market. And today the real estate market's 2 weeks, you're typically getting your offers. And I hear people freaking out. I'm like, dude, go back 7 years ago when I sat on the market for 30 days.
Right.
Or I've had a flip sit a little longer than that. I've only happened twice. I think out of 20 some flips, they've only been on the market for at most one was 60 days and it was just in and out of contract before it went. But I mean, it's never anything. You can overcome anything in real estate. I've learned that too. A house always is going to sell, so there's no need to freak out. If you put a good product out there, then you shouldn't have to worry. Like I'm worrying, freak out over home inspections. I'm like, F home inspectors, they're no good. Last business ever. They're just out there, they have a business and they're trying to do. So you've got to present a good product and put things out on the market so you don't have to worry. So I think listening, chilling out, and just being happy and staying in the moment with the real estate is a huge deal without getting, you got to plan, but I can't plan for what offers I'm going to get. I could just put a good product out there and know it's going to sell.
Right.
That's all I can do.
Yep.
And, so.
Well, and I'm going to be real cliche at the end of it and say, your mess becomes your message. And that's what leads you to be a better person and do better things. So
Exactly.
And on that, that's the real estate ride for today. Whoop, whoop.
Hey, Chris, thanks for coming out and meeting us. And are you doing any design for anyone else?
Oh, that's a great question.
Give me a call. I'm happy to help.
Okay.
I'm it's open to help.
Reaching out if you're interested in having Chris help you design a product. That's
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's an amazing designer,
Thanks.
and that's definitely your number one skill is design in the product selection that you do. So.
These guys can implement my work, my design. So, give them a call. See,
All right, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. It's Jay.
This is Annie.
We are so grateful for you joining us on our podcast and listening in and participating. We want to offer you this additional free bonus, and that is joining our Facebook group.
Yes, where we will have other individuals, not just us, but having conversations on all things real estate, and we would love to have you join us. So just click the link below and head on over and join our group.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the other side.